Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype episode 66, also known as Game Junk Classic, where we'll be going over E3. It's going to be huge. It's going to be epic. This is not going to be your typical prototype. This is going to go into the wee hours of the night. We're starting on June 17th, 2021, but we will be ending on June 18th. My name is Frank.
Maybe June 19th. I don't know yet.
Oh,
We'll see.
My name is Frank. I already said it.
I am Sean.
My name's Andrew.
I like that. I am Sean. That's
I am
new.
Sean.
Pretty good. So we're going to get into E3. It's going to be an abridged version of E3 to some degree. We'll be doing Microsoft, Nintendo, Square Enix, and then we'll touch on everything else. I didn't watch everything. It was just too much, too boring. And we will get into anything else we saw. We all checked out different stuff we're interested in, and then we'll do our top fives of E3, which is tradition on Game Junk Classic. And
Classic edition.
I gotta say, I know people think I'm an old curmudgeon. I'm a relic. Whatever. Call me what you will. This E3 was brutal. Like, might be the most disappointing E3 I've ever been alive for. I'm not excited. I have a top five. Don't really care about much, to be honest. Felt like
Sony wasn't there, so the Sony fanboy has nothing to be excited about.
I don't want to put a hot take out too early, but Sony might have won E3 for me. They released a game that I beat this week that is better. I guarantee you is better than anything that got announced at E3. I'm talking about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which I just beat before we started the show, and it is amazing. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about it today, but guess what? New game of the year. It's already been...
No surprise.
I'm sure somebody saw that coming.
It's so good. It is exactly what I want out of every gaming experience. I could count 4 kind of weird parts. Like I was like, this isn't that polished. This could be a bit better. Everything else is perfect. Anyway, Sean's going to beat that by next week, so maybe we'll wait and talk about it then. But what do you guys think about E3, just in general? It's a turd, right?
Well, I'll give you some positivity to balance it out a bit. I mean, I agree. Okay, big problems were there was too much. Like all these broken up separate press conferences. Like I was into it for the first day or two. I was kind of excited and enjoying just being able to throw on some press conferences on the weekend. And then it just became too much. And a lot of the press conferences started to become really redundant. You started seeing like repeat things at the same at different events. You started seeing like things like the Capcom one where like literally just talking about games that we already knew about. And like that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, maybe we're just spoiled, like there's so many games coming out and people like E3 used to be kind of like by design. That's when people put out all their news about games. And now people have their own events throughout the year. So people aren't saving everything up for E3. So we have these really huge expectations and maybe they're unfair. But, that being said, there were definitely some press conferences that were snooze fests and there were definitely some that just felt a bit lacking. So, but I mean, when I look at the list of what's coming out the rest of this year now, I'm getting pretty excited. There's a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. So.
Huck, how about you?
Same thing. The repetition was the biggest problem for me. Just like so much stuff duplicated. And when there's just like tie into the exact other thing Dwight said, when there's just so much stuff and you're spending the same, 5 minutes with the game 3-4 times across 3-4 shows, like it's just a lot. It's just a lot and you're just done. And luckily with YouTube, you can just skip ahead and kind of not waste the time. But I got tired of seeing it all. It was just too much. Same thing. Overall, not impressed. Nothing really grabbed me, really, to tell you the truth. There's like 1 or 2 games maybe that I'm like, oh wow, that looks something really interesting. But other than that, A lot of the stuff was stuff we'd already seen before. A lot of the stuff was okay looking.
Okay, so before we get into which each of the individual shows, maybe you should save this for the end, but let's do it out of the gate. What was the most satisfying or best E3 presentation you watched?
I feel like this is a trap because I know what I know what Frank feels, but for me, it was easily Xbox, Microsoft. Like, I know Frank's going to go off on how they didn't have a ton of exclusives and stuff, but this to me was the first year in a while where they really started to actually have some stuff that is exclusive. And then if it wasn't exclusive, at least it was like a Game Pass day one thing, which is a big deal, I think. So there was a lot of indie games that they showed. Some I had seen before, but there's a lot of stuff there that I thought looked good.
Well, there was nothing new. Well, 2 new things, right? We'll save it for Xbox. There was 2 new things, well, maybe 3. But I guess I don't think Xbox's was bad. I just think the post-show hype about Xbox is ridiculous. Like, after seeing that, I think Xbox is in more trouble than they've ever been before. If they hadn't bought Bethesda, they'd be dead in the water. Like, it's called the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase because that's all they have. And they're lucky they bought Bethesda. Otherwise, this is literally a snooze fest. And again, they're depending on the best games on their console, which are indie games. And a lot of them aren't exclusive. They might be exclusive to Game Pass. But anyway, to me, the best, I guess, by a thin margin is Nintendo, just because I thought their stuff was short and sweet, nice 40-minute show. The action kept coming. There was some new stuff. They didn't like try to overhype anything. Metroid, I'm excited for a new 2D Metroid. But low key, I think Square Enix had a lot of new stuff that I wasn't expecting. And there's one thing that might have made it win for me if it was different, and that was the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection. That's not on consoles from what I could see. If that was on consoles, they might have won for me. Like, I think that's a really cool collection, and to be able to play all the old Final Fantasies and get achievements or trophies, I would be into that. But yeah, I'm like Nintendo, Square, Microsoft, I guess. Although I would put Summer Game Fest above Microsoft for like the opening show, if I was actually counting that.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you're like, one of your criteria is that like Nintendo was the shortest show, so it got an edge there. But I think that tells you something.
There's a bunch of stuff. It was, the Smash Brothers character announcements are always way too long. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Just announce it. Fine. Let the Smash Brothers fans enjoy it, but let's get real here.
Yeah. For me, I would probably say Xbox, but it's kind of like comparing two people who's trying to like crawl slowest across the finish line, and you don't actually want to win, and they actually just edged out whoever was in second. Yeah, it was just not a lot of really exciting stuff in any of the conferences, and so I guess I would give it to Xbox as I'm looking at sort of like my top things, and I think they were exclusive to Xbox, most of them. So that's where I'm kind of leaning right now.
Okay. Well,
But I agree with you about the Square Enix one. That had a lot of stuff I was interested in too.
So we'll get to that one, but let's start with Microsoft and Bethesda, the official name of the showcase. And let's...
Are they going to drop the Bethesda name at some point, do you think?
It's all they got. They have to say it every time they talk.
I guess, yeah, for now, that's bringing a lot of cred to them, but I just wonder if eventually they just are Microsoft and that's it.
They'll do it. It's
They
just
should
like,
probably keep
that's a
mentioning
branding
it
thing.
because they don't have anything exclusive from Bethesda for at least 2 years. So let's get to the first thing, which was Starfield, which I believe is made by like the Skyrim team, and which was nothing. They said it was in-engine cinematic. It was like this thing that had a release date of, I think it was October or November 2022. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
And I would bet my life that game did not release that day. I
think that has some significance. It's like some anniversary of Skyrim's release.
Okay, well,
I think that's why they picked it. But yeah,
it might launch in the same state as Cyberpunk or Fallout 76 or Fallout 4. That I think could happen. But I mean, it was nothing. It was an announcement date cinematic. Who cares? We already knew about this game. It is a nothing.
Except that it is confirmed to be exclusive PC and Xbox only, which
I knew. Like, I'm not
we assumed,
shocked by
but you know, some people still thought maybe it would come to other consoles.
I'm glad they finally, like, at least committed to that, even though we all knew that. But yeah, I mean, if I would have seen like a hint of what the game is or what gameplay looks like in that new engine, I would be excited. Like, I'm personally not big on Skyrim and is it Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I just find I'm confusing with Elden Ring. I'm like, is it Elden or Elder? But I mean, I think those engines, even at the time, did not look that great, and like the animation and character models were not that awesome as far as I'm concerned. I know people love them; they're not for me. But just some idea of how this, type of game would evolve in a next gen console, I would like to see that, and I saw none of that. So it was almost a non-announcement to me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I find it funny that people are saying like, okay, we saw some stuff in engine. I'm like, not really. Like, I mean, this game's gonna be first person, so you didn't really see anything. You just saw a movie they decided to put together that's probably not gonna have anything to do with the final game, and probably gonna have no assets that are in the final game. It's literally just like they probably didn't even do this in house. They probably like hired someone to do this.
I think they might have done it in house, but I think even the stuff Unreal is showing with that little game and like the new character that they always do their demos in, like that's more to me than this is. Like that's running on a PlayStation 5 in some of those, and like this is not. Anyway, I don't even want to spend, unless people have much to say about this. I don't think it's worth spending much time on.
Yeah, not really. I mean, they did kind of follow up like after the press conference and say a few things. Like they described it as Skyrim in space. So
I never would have guessed.
Yeah, but I mean that I am kind of interested in that just because like sort of the big open world RPGs, they're always in fantasy worlds, but I am personally a little more interested in like a science fiction world. So I mean that's something, but yeah, the trailer, not much. I mean, maybe I guess it's interesting. Like it seemed to be based on what they showed, and it kind of seemed to be playing on sort of space exploration and stuff. I feel like it almost reminded me of like what Star Trek Enterprise was, where it was like almost bridging the gap between like current day space travel and like future stuff. I don't know if that is what it actually is, but.
And let me be clear, I'm not writing off this game. I love sci-fi world. I love Mass Effect, the first two at least. I assume I'd like the third. And if it's like an open world version, I think I was mildly intrigued by the like pitch that, even though I can't remember most of it, but when Todd was talking, I'm like, oh, this sounds intriguing. Like I thought there was some twist or unique perspective on it that I thought could be cool. But I mean, we really learned nothing about it other than a release date, and it's exclusive. So not much, to be honest. So let's move on. At least the next announcement, there was quite a bit of gameplay. Stalker 2, which honestly, the original Stalker has never been on my radar. Have you guys played this game? Do you like it? Like, I know almost nothing about it. I had to look it up, to be perfectly honest, to see when it came out. I think it was 2007 and other versions as late as 2009.
Yeah, never played it. Always been a little bit curious though. Like I've heard of it and heard good things about it, and certainly I'm familiar with the movie. So, and this I thought looked cool. Like I was kind of into it.
Yeah, really, it gave me kind of like a Metro. Like that sort of like. I mean, it's pretty similar, like Russian kind of like dystopian kind of world. But yeah, I don't know much about it either, and it looks pretty interesting to me. I found the trailer a little hard to follow only because they were like speaking Russian. I'm trying to read the subtitles and also trying to like see the gameplay all at the same time. So probably I should go back and watch it again. I only watched it that one time while the conference was on. So I probably should go back and watch it again, but I thought it looked pretty interesting.
I like the electricity effects on some of the guns, and I mean, it looked out of anything. I think that Microsoft showed. It felt the most next gen to me. I think I'm trying to think if there was anything that graphically excited me more, but and it was at least gameplay versions of excitement. So I was kind of into it. Just I'm curious. I'm intrigued by the idea, but don't know much about the franchise. So it wasn't like I don't know if there's a gameplay element like Stalker. Each letter in Stalker is like represents some play style, I think, and it's kind of an RPG. I don't know much about it, so maybe I would like it. I don't know. If you're a big Stalker fan, let us know in the comments because I don't know much about it. So next was Back for Blood, which was in a lot of shows. They had their own kind of mini show with Warner Brothers in between some of the other stuff, and we're all very excited for Back for Blood. The Microsoft tie-in was it's coming to Game Pass day one, which let's get into it now. The idea of Game Pass being a big deal. I think Game Pass is great. I think it's an awesome value for someone who's a casual gamer. I would recommend it to. I do recommend it to my friends with kids that want to get a console and stuff like that. I think it's really good. But when I talk about who's winning the console war or bullshit like that, I'm talking about like who has the best games, who is like, and potentially who has the most exclusive great games. And to me, the console wars, from my perspective, are not about monetization or how the companies make money or who plays what more or what age groups are playing what games. I could care less about that. It's like, who has the best games that I can only play on those consoles? Back for Blood is not exclusive. I'm going to buy it day one on PlayStation anyway. I'm sure that's a difference maker for someone who doesn't have the money to, but we should not be allowing, if we're evaluating like which console is the best and has the best games, how you pay for them should not matter. Just like review scores should not be affected by how much a game costs.
So a couple things. I mean, we were texting about this previously, and I mean, I would have thought, a multiplayer game like this, you have it on Game Pass, people want to play with their friends, that's going to push them to go Xbox. But then you brought up the fact that it is crossplay, as far as I know, which is a good point. But I think that's what Microsoft is kind of accomplishing with E3 this year, is a lot of these things that are coming to other consoles, like a lot of the indie games that are day one Game Pass, are kind of like windowed exclusives or whatever. But they're not really saying that. They are in the Xbox press conference, Game Pass day one. People are associating them with Xbox. So I think that's what Microsoft is doing well, is people are saying, oh, like it seems like they're exclusive, even if we know they're not, right?
But
and
Sony's been doing that
Psychonauts
for years too, right? Like they would always have the exclusive Batman Arkham announcements and some exclusive
that's true.
DLC. GTA was always like, a casual person would think, oh, it's only on PlayStation. Like companies have been doing that forever. We know that's not the case. So like that's,
but
we're
like
not talking about perceived value of consoles.
But I think they are, like, it's confusing, like even for people like us who are following this stuff, right? And like Psychonauts 2 is a great example because they Microsoft bought Double Fine. Seems like it's a first party Microsoft game, and yet because they had the crowdfunding thing before Microsoft bought them, they had already committed to do a PS4 version. I don't know about PS5, but definitely PS4. And from what I read, they are still putting one out at some point. We just don't know when. So, just things like that. Like you think, oh, that's a Microsoft exclusive. Well, it's not really, but to most of the world it is. And Microsoft kind of is, accomplishing something with that. So, yeah,
I think
the Back for Blood announcement, I was excited just because I'm like, I don't have to buy it now. I will not be buying it on PS5 or PS4.
For me, it seems like Sony is starting to slip into the Nintendo placement that I have Nintendo currently. I buy the Nintendo console, and then I play Nintendo games on the Nintendo console. Sony is starting to slip into that territory where I buy the Sony console and then I buy the Sony games on that, and that's it. And I play everything else on Xbox. And from the discussions that are going on in Discord, it seems like a lot of people are starting to go to that style, like basically get Xbox, get Game Pass. You get so many games, it's kind of ridiculous.
I agree. It's
and then yeah. So what? You can't play Last of Us Part 2, or you can't play Uncharted 5 when it comes out, or whatever. So you buy one game a year, one or two Sony games a year, and then you have all this Game Pass games. Like, I do agree that, like, from the, like, who has the best games, quote unquote, Xbox is losing for sure. But like, both companies are providing a different service. Like, okay, Sony is specializing in these amazing third-person action games. That's cool. But do they really have anything else other than that? I mean, they're all good. Like, Spider-Man's good. Ratchet and Clank is good. Last of Us 2 is good. Well, good, great. Okay, Horizon's great. They're all third-person action games. Do they have, other than, like, Killzone, do they have an amazing first-person shooter? And Killzone hasn't come out since the launch of the PS4. Do they have one that you would consider like a Sony product?
Not currently. They seem to have moved away from that.
So I mean, yeah, if you like third-person action games, Sony is your thing. Like, Frank, those are your games. You love those games.
What first-person shooter is is it just Halo on Xbox? That would be the one that is the exception, because I assume they're like, we're not competing with Call of Duty anyway. We're not competing with perhaps Apex Legend, Fortnite. So why even bother? That's not what we do best. I would rather play Call of Duty than what I think Halo Infinite is so far.
Well, they do have Titanfall, and they will have future Doom games and Wolfenstein games. So that is a big deal.
Is that official?
What do you mean that's official? They bought them.
Oh, sorry. I thought Sean was talking about PlayStation.
No, Xbox. You were saying, is Halo the only thing? And we were saying there are these other ones. Titanfall. But I don't know what that is.
Why wouldn't Titanfall be on PlayStation?
I don't know if that's exclusive anymore.
It's not? No, I thought it was.
I don't think it will be going forward. Like, they didn't buy whatever that
Titanfall 2 is
Respawn.
on PlayStation.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Positive.
Then I'm out to lunch on that one. But
they also have Horizon, the racing games, and is Gran Turismo ever going to come out? Probably sometime in like 10 years. But right now Sony's lacking in that. I don't know, and it seems like every other genre doesn't really have a specific, big property that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, there's no really big property puzzle game or big property.
What about RPG?
I don't know.
Yeah, you might
RPG, I guess.
This literally could all just boil down to, I love third-person action games. And
I guess Sony does have Final Fantasy right now, like the newest Final Fantasies, which is a bit of a big deal. But who knows how long that's going to last? I don't know how long Sony can hold off Square Enix.
And no one talks about Neo. I think Neo 1 and 2 are amazing. They're Sony exclusives. Anyway, let's not turn this into like
third-person action game.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at which games have won Game of the Year the last 10 years and see how many.
I'm not saying third-person action games aren't good. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying that is Sony's wheelhouse.
So let's continue with Xbox. Contraband was the next thing, which is looks like a co-op open world game by Avalanche Studios, who does Just Cause. I've never been into Just Cause. I think some people like it. I'm not really into them. I find like the physics system-based games not all that exciting. I know some people love them, but it says it's set in a fictional version of the 70s. So not a lot to go on other than it's kind of an exclusive announcement, but do you guys care?
No.
I mean, yeah, just an announcement trailer, but the concept sounds cool. Like, I think I would be into this. Like, set in the 70s, kind of like a smuggler's thing. It's a co-op or multiplayer open world game. I've never played a Just Cause game, but I've always meant to try them out. They seem kind of fun in theory. So this could be something big.
They're great games that no one I know has played.
I've played a couple of them. They kind of just remind me
I'd say.
of like a Ubisoft game. That's what they remind me of.
They're kind of a shitty Ubisoft game.
Sure.
Next, I think they touched on Battlefield 2042, which I had missed. That kind of kicked off E3 last week, and I actually thought the footage that was shown was pretty good. I thought it looked quite good, to be honest.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed because I guess there's no campaign at all with this one, because generally that's all I'm interested in with these kind of shooters. But yeah, this one doesn't have it.
Yeah, I think it's just a battle royale, right? Is that what they said?
I think that's part of it, but I mean, it's.
I thought it's the classic Battlefield kind of scenarios, and
Okay.
yeah, I actually thought maybe they said there is no battle royale. They might have.
Oh, really?
I'm not. Don't quote me on that. That seems to stand out in my mind. But yeah, I think it looked.
The weather
color
effects
scheme,
and stuff look pretty cool.
I thought it looked really good, and all the different vehicles and stuff. I mean, that's what the series is known for, and kind of, moving from different vehicles to first person and stuff like that. I thought it looked good. I'm kind of intrigued by it. Next, I'm just going to touch on this quickly. 12 minutes, that time loop game coming to Game Pass August 19th. This game better be amazing because I've heard about it so much, and it's everything I've ever seen. I think it looks really cool. I love the camera perspective. Now this game needs to deliver because I've heard a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's obviously competing time loop games coming as well. So
12 minutes, you better rock. Because August 19th, the judgment is coming. Psychonauts 2, which I thought looked good. To be honest, I tried playing Psychonauts 1 a while back. I mean, it hasn't aged well, in my opinion. I know it was beloved at the time.
yeah, they really needed to remaster this thing or something.
That would have been the right thing. I totally agree. I'm like, I wish I had the quality of life of today's 3D platformers because I love the world. I think it's funny. So I anticipate Psychonauts 2 will be a good game. Like, I think it'll be a really cool game. Not exclusive, just worth mentioning. And
Yep.
I'm excited for that. I'm going to skip over some, like Fallout 76. Don't really care. Hades, don't really care. August 13th to consoles, finally.
Don't really care. It was almost made your top 5, you said.
That it's coming to consoles, but I mean, game's out. It's one game of the year. People love this game. I guess I'm glad I get to get trophies with it now, I guess. But I mean, like, that coming to Game Pass really doesn't matter. Like, it's a $20 game. Like, whatever. Next is Halo Infinite, I think. I missed a big one, a huge one. Pirates of the Caribbean tie-in to Sea of Thieves. How could I miss it?
That was a weird one. Did not expect that. I mean, I want to get into Sea of Thieves, but I think until you can turn off PvP, I don't think I'm going near this
I
game.
wanted to get into Sea of Thieves. The controls are awful. And
yeah,
like,
we definitely had issues when we tried it that one time, but
trying to learn how to play that game, the first time you step into the world, it is the most unwelcoming game I've ever played. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if they fixed that stuff or polished your entry experience. I remember playing World of Warcraft for the first time and being completely lost. Then playing it 3 years later and being like, okay, this is making me understand how I should play this game. It's better. But Sea of Thieves did not have that anytime I've gone back to it. So for people who love that game, maybe that's a big deal, but
I mean, I was just surprised too that Pirates of the Caribbean, like it seems like Disney doesn't know what the heck to do with this franchise because of the Johnny Depp situation, and it's just weird that they've just embraced it like at a time like this. But
isn't it more about like the last two movies have not been good at all?
That's part of it.
You might
too.
even say the third one in the first trilogy wasn't very good either. So, I mean, I think we know what to do with it. End it. Halo Infinite. King of
You missed a couple that happened beforehand that I would
Okay,
long
what I
touch on.
miss? Sorry.
Party Animals.
Oh, that was before. Pardon me. Yeah. Okay, I,
I
had that.
think so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was like the floppy animal like combat brawler game. It looked like it was some sort of like 4-on-4 kind of like physics based brawling game or something.
I have Gang Beasts meets Fall Guys.
Yes, yeah, that looks exactly like what it is. Yeah, meets almost like the Super Smash Brothers like knock you off the ledge type thing. And then the other one, so that looked really fun. And then the other one was Somerville. I don't know if you have that on your list.
I do, and that
Okay.
looked really good.
Yeah, that had major inside vibes happening.
Yeah, so I'm confused as to what, like, so it is a couple people from the studio. Is it Playdead? Is that the studio that did
They're
Limbo
I
and
think
Inside?
people from Playdead. The studio's co-founder Dino Patti previously co-founded Playdead and worked on Limbo. So
Oh, I didn't realize it was those guys. That makes perfect sense why it looks exactly like Inside then.
Yeah, I feel like they've been talking about it almost like it's like part of a trilogy with Limbo and Inside. So it's weird because like, does Playdead still exist, or are they do it? Like, what are they doing?
I have no idea.
But
I would think they would. I mean, I'm sure they made a lot of money on those games.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that game looked good as well. Sorry about that. I was using a website instead of my list, which my list is in order, and then everything was in the order with that list, and then they must have skipped some stuff. So there's also Doom Eternal next gen version coming on
know what?
Game Pass.
One more thing on this Somerville thing. Now that I found out that it's the ex Playdead guys, I wonder if they shared tech. I know they were using Unity, but like there are some very specific like Limbo-esque things in this. Or not Limbo, Inside. And I'm wondering if they had some deal where like, we don't really like the direction we're going, but can we use the tech? Like, I wonder if it's kind of like a spin-off company where they're able, because I mean, this looks really polished for guys that are just starting fresh with Unity. Like, I mean,
I think it's a lot of their stuff is probably materials and lighting stuff that if you know how to do it, you could probably do it again, potentially.
yeah, that's true. But I don't know. It just seems like a lot of the camera work, very similar.
Yeah, that's true.
The lighting.
But they could have just done like this could be almost like a pre-rendered thing. Like we don't know if it's being controlled. They could like be doing a really on rails thing. So
True.
So it says that Playdead's third game is a 3D game, and it's going to use Unreal. So I wonder if these other
this game
guys,
is Unity for sure. Somerville.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe these guys actually did take what they were doing in Unity and were somehow allowed to take it with them. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. I mean, like Inside is technically 3D as well. Just the camera perspective is 2D. So I don't know what exactly they mean by that. If it's going to be like a first-person shooter or a third-person action game, or
the quote is they're tired.
My first cynical thought as well. Like every game is 3D almost these days.
Yeah.
Well, it says the quote is they're tired of the limitations of 2D games. So,
me too. It's really getting me down. All right. Halo Infinite. Very strange. In the middle of the show, I missed the Xbox One live. So I watched it after the fact, and I'd kind of heard all the stuff, and they're like, Halo Infinite multiplayer footage. It's barely even footage. It reminded me of the single player stuff we saw last time. It was completely on rails. It was like almost a cinematic in multiplayer. It was bad. Like, I'm sure Halo multiplayer will be good. Halo is one of the best multiplayer shooters ever. It would be very hard to fuck it up. But I mean, this just had me like, this game is not in a good place at all. Like I am deeply, if I was, Phil Spencer, I'm deeply concerned about the state of Halo right now.
yeah. So we were debating this a little bit, via text as well. Now, I think part of it is they definitely wanted to focus on multiplayer because they hadn't really talked about that before. They're making the announcement that the multiplayer is free to play, which is, I think, that's a big move, and I think that's a good move for them.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, the decision not to show single player. I mean, it could be just that they are saving it because they want to show it closer to the release date. But I mean, this kind of is.
That's what I would do if I had my biggest franchise of all time. I'm like, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait till we're a little closer. That's probably the best move.
Now, the other thing I was going to mention though is they did have an Xbox extended showcase today, which I did not watch, but apparently it was more of like a talk to the developers, show more gameplay with some of their games. So I don't know if it looks like there was some Halo stuff, but it looks like it was all multiplayer. So I don't know. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's a strange decision. I don't know if it's a sign that it's in bad shape necessarily.
When you show Halo multiplayer footage, first of all, we know what it is. Like, it's like, okay, next gen, how does it look? I'm sure it's going to look good. We know the weapons, we know the gameplay. The stuff that defines a multiplayer experience from revision to revision is the menus, the leveling systems, the matchmaking, like the gameplay modes. Like, they're not going to change that much. There's not going to be. I think that might be the game I'm thinking of that said there's going to be no battle royale. Actually, I think that's what it was. So it's like, we know what Halo is. Of course, there's going to be next gen Halo multiplayer, and it will be good. Halo is a good multiplayer game. So no one would ever doubt that. It's not like Halo multiplayer was ever in trouble as far as I know. So this was a way to say Halo multiplayer is free to play, which is very good. It's a big deal, I think. Like, if you're like maybe going to buy one or play one first person game and you're debating like buying Call of Duty, like Halo is a comparable AAA multiplayer experience. And, you know, if you get that one for free, I think that actually moves like who's playing what a bit, especially if it's going to come out around the same time as Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I found it so strange that they would put that little shot right, I think it was right at the beginning, of the like environment that they showed already, but they obviously picked like a different time of day. They got rid of all the texture popping and stuff. And then I was like, okay, we're going to actually get to see something. And then it literally just like panned into a cinematic and they didn't show anything. And then they had some of those like multiplayer cuts you guys were talking about where it was like almost like cinematic cameras. It wasn't really, there was some like,
it was,
there was some like gameplay stuff, but not that much. Like I was like, okay, we're going to see a more polished Halo that they showed before. And I was kind of like looking closer at the environment they were showing, and it was like a couple like AI characters walking around like in the far, far distance. And it was just like this pan up of the vista. And I'm like, well, at least there's no cloud popping. Like that's the only thing I could think. Like,
and it reminded me a bit of the smoke and mirrors we talked about with the last State of Play with Horizon, where they had like the sounds from multiplayer, which makes it seem more like it's actually happening in a game. But yeah, this was another nothing as far as I'm concerned. We knew Halo was coming out. They've done nothing here to show me that this game is in a great place right now. Not to mention they said holiday release window, which to me kind of bleeds into January and February. When I hear that these days, I do not think this is going to be out October or November, or they don't know.
I mean, it could happen, but that would be disaster. They need to have this thing out before Christmas.
Well, it could be a bigger disaster if they release it and it's bad.
I guess that's true.
Oof, not good. Not good. Next, something I was excited by, Diablo 2 Resurrected. I really liked Diablo 3. I think I beat the campaign once. I would love to go back and play some co-op. I think it's a really good console co-op experience. But I thought like the lighting in this looked great. I thought it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I never played Diablo 2, and the new Dark Alliance is coming out next week. But like those games were the ones that I played first, without really realizing that was just ripping off Diablo. Mm-hmm. And so now I like to go back and play Diablo 2. I'm excited, actually.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm surprised you never played it.
Played 3, but not 2.
Oh.
Okay, next. I'm assuming Diablo 2 is not exclusive. Was it a Game Pass thing? I don't think so.
I would think not exclusive.
I don't think so.
I
I think
did not
they
see
said like optimized for Series X, or that was how they
Nice. That's
looped
huge.
it in. But
Uh, next, A Plague Tale Requiem.
Oh yeah.
You like this game, right, Huck?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was amazing.
I just bought it for $13 on the PlayStation sale, so I do want to.
You know, it's on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
this guy is just like does not care about Game Pass.
was
I mean,
good.
I
It's-
would. I get it if I want trophies. I like trophy. I like the ecosystem of
Fair enough.
PlayStation better. For $13, I'll gladly pay. that.
Definitely worth it for $15 or whatever, $13, whatever you paid. But so like from this video, it looked like there was no gameplay from what I remember. It was basically like a cinematic. But as soon as I saw that Sea of Rats, I was like, oh baby,
I knew what it was.
I know what this is. And what I like is it looks like, I think it's the same two characters, like the girl and her brother,
Yeah.
which is cool that they're going. Obviously, they're a little more rugged and like grown up. It's like the next step in their story, and I like the idea that they're gonna continue on. And I had a feeling they had some like grander scale plans for this IP just because of how they named the first game in the series. So I'm really glad that it did well enough. And I remember seeing ads for it everywhere. So I wasn't sure if it like was not selling or if it was selling. I couldn't tell. But obviously it sold enough where they're making a sequel. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. I really like the first one.
Okay. There was next some Far Cry 6 stuff, I think. I mean, we've seen tons of Far Cry. Well, to my knowledge, we still haven't seen any gameplay. So I really have nothing to say about Far Cry 6.
This one is called the Right Tool gameplay trailer, but I don't recall how much gameplay is actually in it.
I'm really not. I don't know.
I'm watching it right now. There is some it's
is?
like
Okay.
little snippets here and there. It's hard to tell.
I take it back.
Yeah. So there's some. It's definitely like very montagey, like cut and pasty, nothing kind of long form. But I was saying before in the pre-show, I think they did have one with a more elongated gameplay section where they showed like an actual playthrough of an area.
And Far
But
Cry
not
kind
before
of it is what it is, right? Like you can imagine what this game's going to be based, and they're really pushing that Giancarlo Esposito's in it, which it's a pretty big name. So, and the series is known for its villains, but I'm not super excited about it. Although I hope it's the Far Cry. Like I play every Far Cry game a little bit, and I just don't get hooked. I'm hoping this one does. I'm sure I'll buy it. Anyway. Next, I might have missed some stuff here, so just let me know. Slime Rancher 2, which I've always been intrigued. I've never played Slime Rancher. I think it looks cool. I thought this one looked good. I don't know much about it. I guess it's a cool announcement to some degree, but I don't really care.
I tried
Yes.
Slime Rancher 1. I didn't really get into it, but I think it has that same sort of like collectible build 'em, kind of like Minecraft-y feel that other games have.
Yeah, but it didn't, like, from this trailer, like, and I haven't played the first one, but it wasn't what I thought the first one was. Like, I actually kind of thought it looked a bit cooler than I expected. So yeah.
I did think it looked more exciting and fun than the original.
Oh, I thought it looked almost identical to the first one. Other than that, the graphics were a little better.
All right. Next was Shredders, a snowboarding game, which it kind of looks somewhere in between 1080 snowboarding and skate to some degree. I guess it looked okay. Not really my cup of tea, but what do you guys think?
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, like, have they announced a new SSX game yet? Like, it's kind of the
I don't
only
think
snowboarding game that I would probably be excited for, but like,
I would have settled for Amped. Remember?
oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I mean, this could be good. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Didn't do much for me.
1080? 1080
So-
snowboarding.
Just to recap, what has done much for you in the Xbox showcase?
A
We
Plague
haven't got
Tale
to the-
Requiem.
You haven't got to the big one yet. which
Okay,
is
all right.
Okay. You know what I'm going to
Coming
say.
up.
It's the next one for me, I think, unless I'm skipping something.
You might be
Replace
skipping one. Yeah, I think you're skipping one.
Atomic
order.
Heart.
Yeah, Atomic Heart.
Yeah, but actually
I
both of those
think I fell
games-
asleep during this announcement, so I'm gonna rewatch some of it now.
I thought it
both-
was looking pretty good. But
Yeah, so we're talking Atomic Heart first?
yeah, Atomic Heart, yeah.
Yeah, so that I thought it looked intriguing. It was a little hard to like. It's interesting this with Stalker because they're both Russian, I think, right? Or at least
I don't know if this one is.
This one seemed like it's still kind of like Soviet set. Like I don't know if I don't know. That's the vibe I got, and so like I was kind of getting the two confused in my head a little bit, but yeah, it looked kind of cool. Like it looked like
I'm watching
weird
it right now.
sci-fi stuff.
I think it looks really good.
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
me
it's like
BioShock
sci-fi.
vibes, like the
Definitely. I have that in my notes as well.
in Infinite, the hook arm. Like there's some really unique gadgets that are on your arm, and you know what? I take it back. I'm in. This game looks cool.
I thought it looked like the art style reminded me of why am I blanking on that puzzle game?
Oh yeah. You just played
Yes.
the
What is that
laser,
called?
Sean. You just played it.
Talos?
Talos Principle. It's like the art style from Talos Principle with like BioShock gameplay. But I was listening to, I believe, the Giant Bombcast, and they were saying that this game has been shown a bunch before, but it's always had really bad frame rate issues. So I'm a little hesitant to be all in on this game, but it does look interesting. For sure.
All right. So next, I don't know if it's exclusive. I know it's a Game Pass game. I'm pretty sure it might actually be a timed exclusive from what I was able to see on the internet. But Replaced, which I could make a case. This was the game I am the most excited about out of E3. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Art style is so good. It actually reminds me of what's that raccoon game you were talking about recently?
Backbone?
Like it's
Backbone.
very similar to Backbone, but the combat looks really cool. The camera is doing like this kind of tilt stuff
Yeah.
during like I'm in on every.
Very active camera. Very
yeah.
active camera.
Like-
It reminded me more of The Last Night. Do you guys remember that pixel art game?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
it reminded me
vaguely.
of that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this thing like the lighting is so
Yeah.
good, camera. I mean, if the gameplay delivers on Replaced, like this is kind of the same reaction I had seeing Cuphead the first time. Like
Yeah, it's really polished.
I am really excited for this game. Still not coming until 2022, but it looks so effing good. I think, you know what? I'm changing my top 5 list right now.
So far, what I'm seeing, it is Xbox and PC only. So
So
That could be
I just rewatched in the showcase. It said console launch exclusive. So I don't know what that means exactly, but I would say that's like
Yeah.
a timed exclusive, so
probably,
that
yeah.
it'll be coming to other platforms later.
They were pretty clear as far as I could tell when it was truly an exclusive, and I think I would have noted it. They did not.
Although-
they did not take any or lose any opportunity to say something was exclusive in any way.
Yeah, the console launch exclusive could mean that it's Series X only, and then it's going to come to like Steam and Windows. So that could be what it means.
Not how I interpret it, but I agree that could be the case. An update to Grounded. Kind of intrigued by this game. Sean, you tried it, right?
yeah, we gotta co-op it at some point, man.
Did any good?
I mean, it was kind of fun. I don't know. It seems like the thing that I wasn't so into is it has that kind of crafting survival element to it that seemed a bit tedious, but I liked the premise and it was kind of fun. Yeah.
Okay. Next is a game that was in their exclusive showcase literally a year ago, The Ascent, and I was excited for it then. I still think it looks great. It's been a while. It's the way they made it sound last time. It was like one of the first launch exclusives for Series X. Still yet to see it.
It's coming soon, July 29th.
Perfect. I think it looks great, though. I love these types of games, and I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Age of Empires 4, not my thing.
I hope you're going to go back to the game you skipped over.
What did I skip over? Oh, Outer Worlds 2?
No. Erudian Chronicle and Erudian Rising. They're like 2 RPGs. Did you not see those?
It's not in
Are
the
they on your list?
article I'm reading, and it's not in my notes. So I was going to skip over them completely.
Oh, okay. Well, they're like, so I think both games are by the same company. So the one, I don't know how to say the first name, but the Chronicle one looks like Octopath Traveler. But the team that is making this is the same team that made Suikoden 1 and 2. And it has very big Suikoden vibes in the battle system. So Suikoden had this thing where I think you had 6 characters in your party, 3 front, 3 back, and then you would fight, but it had a very active camera. So like the guys would jump to attack and the camera would like zoom in with you, and it would give you like very like cool cinematic camera. And this was on the PlayStation 1, I believe. So it was pretty limited what they can do, but they basically had 3D environments with pixel art. So that's kind of like what they're doing here, except obviously upgraded engine, upgraded tech, so they can do more. So it really was looking quite good, I thought, and very interesting. And then the Rising game, I believe, is more of a traditional 2D pixel art, maybe side-scrolling game. Oh no, I guess I just saw a quick thing, but I don't know what this game is. They just did a quick little thing. And the Rising game actually comes out first, 2022, and then the more Octopath Traveler one, it says 2023. But anyways, those games looked really good to me. I'm surprised they weren't on your list. Someone's fired from whatever website you're looking at.
I'm fired. I skipped over it completely too. So Age of Empires 4, I know this is a beloved series. I'm not really into sim games, so Huck, this is more your type of thing. Do you like the series? Is this a big deal?
You know what? I've never played an Age of Empires game. I know 2, I don't know if 3's on Game Pass right now, but I always wanted to try these games. It's kind of like, what are those other games? Crusader Kings, and what's that other crazy one that I tried to get into? It's by the same guys that did Crusader Kings. But these games are just so insanely detailed, and you need so much to get into. I used to really like these kind of strategy games. I used to play a lot of like Caesar. I don't know if you guys remember those games from back in the day.
I remember those.
And like other of these city building type games, but lately I just don't have. I find there's so much time you need to, like, initial investment you need to put into to kind of learn the systems. It's almost like a board game, getting really good at a board game. You know, you got to like play the game a lot before you understand all the rules and all the nuances. So I find I just don't have the time to really put into it. And the other game I was thinking of is called Europa Universalis. I don't know if you guys have heard of that game, but it is another crazy strategy game by Paradox. But yeah, I would like to check this game out, but I would definitely play it on PC. I wouldn't play it on console. And I don't know if I'd have the time to really dive in, but I might give it a spin just because it will be on Game Pass and it'll be easy to click download and then fire it up.
Yeah. It is nice to have it there if you ever want to try it.
It's kind of like what Sean said with Grounded. It's like the ultimate sales pitch for Game Pass. It's kind of fun. Is Outer Worlds 2 next?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So this was just a teaser trailer. I admit, Sean had kind of hyped it up. It's funny. It was a good, parody or roasting of these cinematic trailers that are completely meaningless. And I liked that they acknowledged it while they were doing it. So
Yeah.
it actually it's kind of funny because there was stuff after this that are the same thing. And it's
Yeah.
like you realize you just called out how stupid these things are in your previous thing. But I thought it was funny. I haven't played the first one. I do want to play it though. It looks pretty good. And I thought it was funny.
First game's really good. I haven't beaten it, but I want to go back to it. I still have it installed. It's one of those games that I'm like, I really want to go back to. I just need to find some time. So I think I'm looking forward to this game. But did they put a release date on it? I can't remember.
I don't think so. It's still pretty
Okay.
early. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
so
the
I
whole
mean-
point of the teaser,
Yeah.
really.
I think I'll have a couple years to finish off the first one before this one comes out.
Yeah.
At least. Flight Simulator coming to consoles this summer, which I'm curious about because I can't get a video card.
Yeah, I'm excited, actually. That trailer, it looked amazing.
I am very aware when I'm watching that trailer, they're making this game look way more exciting. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know. I played it on mine, so I only have a 1080 Ti, so I don't even have like 300 series or even 200 series with the ray tracing, and it looked really good on my rig. So I can't even imagine what it's going to look like on a Series X 4K, big screen. It's going to look amazing.
yeah, the game looks amazing. The question is it exciting? Was it exciting when you played it, or kind of?
I wouldn't say it was kind of like an experience. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't call it exciting. I wasn't like exciting to go fly a plane, but I mean, it was kind of like fun to play around with. There's just so many like controls and knobs to like flick and stuff, like just so many controls to do stuff with. So I remember doing like some challenges or something that kind of teach you the basics, and it was pretty fun to just kind of learn and follow along and do the flight path and try to beat the challenge and everything. And I think it might be more accessible on a console. I'm hoping they can refine like the menus and stuff to work well with the controller, not have that stupid mouse cursor that's really the right stick crap that we were talking about last
like
week.
a simulator game like this would be really dependent on keyboard controls. When I think back to like old TIE Fighter and Wing Commander, like I'm curious to see how they do it for consoles. I will play it though. I think it looks cool.
Well, a right stick mimics like a joystick more than a keyboard does. I mean, a mouse.
I get that. I mean, more like I just remember like all the
There's a lot of
shortcut keys.
controls.
Oh,
like,
tons of
and
buttons.
Yeah.
I don't recall them being like a ton, but there were shortcut keys. I'm sure they'll figure out something with the controller, modifying buttons like hold down
Yeah.
left bumper and press everything else, whatever. Yeah. They'll figure it out.
So next to me was easily technically the best thing that Xbox showed, which is Forza Horizon 5. I think it takes place in Mexico. I love this series. Even though I didn't play 4 much, I've played all of the other ones quite a bit. To me, it might be my favorite current exclusive franchise with Xbox. And I think this one looks good. It looks like more of the same, but finally like an Xbox Series X game that is showing off the power of the console. I don't think I've seen too many that do that. So I think it looks good. I don't think they announced the release date
November 9th.
this year.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty good. I missed that for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm always excited for that franchise, and this one looks super.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I mean, I think I played, did I play 4 or maybe it was 3? I don't remember, but like I've dabbled as I tend to do, but I don't know, like racing games generally, they aren't really on my radar, but this looked great. The open world element seems like a lot of fun, and like honestly, like if it looks that good, I could see myself just driving around for the hell of it doing nothing. Like that would be enjoyable.
No, you wouldn't.
The photogrammetry like assets are just so insanely good looking. I can't believe it.
The thing with this and Flight Simulator, Frank, I mean, is it exciting? Maybe not, but like sometimes people want to just relax, play a game and relax, and I could see both of those being very
not
zen
all about-
experiences.
It's not all about the platinum, bud.
You need gold. I wasn't challenging whether people like doing that. You said I might just, fire it up and drive around. I'm questioning whether you will do that. You need goals. You need things to do. And by the time this game comes out, there will be 10 other games with equally good photogrammetry. Like, you need to separate yourself somehow. I think this game does separate itself with fun gameplay and spectacle moments. So I'm questioning the driving around and looking at things. Like, everyone says that they would do that. Like, this game's so beautiful. I just walk around and look at stuff. Yet no one ever does that unless it's like
Well, like when it comes to open world stuff, like I like to explore if you give me a reason to do that. So if this game has something like that, then I'd be fine with just driving
I thought
around.
the exploration stuff they showed, where it was like the street art and like the camera perspective, like you almost pulled the camera out of the car to get it. I thought that looked like a very nice mechanic. Where like I've done the exploration stuff in Horizon before, where you have to like drive through something and it can be a little annoying. So I was very intrigued by the idea of like separating the camera from the car for the exploration aspects.
Yeah, look good.
All right, and I think just one more thing, unless I missed something, which was another Xbox exclusive, I'm assuming. Yes, it is. Okay. By Arcane, which is the company that's done
Right.
Prey and Dishonored series and Deathloop, which is coming. But I have to tie this in to Game Junk history. I was not aware of this. Do you know what other game they were working on before it was canceled? It comes up all the time on this podcast.
Nope, I don't think so.
I didn't know that until like 15 minutes ago. LMNO, the Spielberg game that we always talk about.
Oh, right.
They were the studio working on that.
We always talk about that game.
It's come up a few times.
Okay.
You guys got to pay attention here. Anyway, it's like a vampire, maybe kind of Left 4 Dead-ish type game. I don't know if it's a campaign or more of a... It's not that clear. Not a lot to go on here. More of an announcement. But I thought it looked okay.
Yeah, not much to go on, as you said. Like, it could be good. Here it says 4-player co-op, single player and multiplayer options will be blended seamlessly. So I still don't really understand if it's like story based, if there's a campaign, or if it's just like fighting waves of vampires or what. But could be good.
Now, is that the main character? Did she not remind you of the girl that's in Deathloop? Weren't they? Don't they have similar characters in Deathloop? Isn't there a girl with a fro in Deathloop as well? Am I forgetting that?
Maybe.
I thought they looked really similar. I thought this was going to be some Deathloop thing.
Like tied in or something?
Yeah, okay. I guess maybe it's not quite the same. I'm looking at it right now. She has bigger hair, but not fro-like. Anyways.
Yeah.
Unrelated. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be Deathloop something, and then it turned out to be this other thing.
I didn't know. Yeah, like did they say it was Arcane right away? Like I don't remember, to be honest.
I don't remember either.
But I guess two other announcements that I kind of like Yakuza Like a Dragon is coming to it was on Game Pass that day, and Among Us is getting 15-player lobbies on Xbox. I'm assuming on everything, but that was part of this showcase as well.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was hoping there would be more like this is on Game Pass today kind of announcements, but that was really the only one, the Yakuza one. Well, no, they had some new Bethesda stuff, right? But a lot of it was stuff that I think had been on Game Pass before.
Yeah, they're older games. They're expanding the Bethesda catalog on Game Pass.
Right.
At this point, it almost seems like they held stuff back so that they could say it at E3.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is pretty lame. All right, yeah, I'd give their press conference a C+ if I was grading it.
Okay. Are we all grading it?
No, I'm just putting it out there.
It's probably like a B for me.
B. Let's go B.
Okay, so are we doing Nintendo next?
I think we gotta.
We got to.
Frank's winner. E3 winner. It better be better than a C+.
It is. It's a B-. Spoiler alert. So we have starting off with a Tekken character, Kazuya, coming to Smash. Non-needle mover for me. Don't care.
Yeah, these announcements are the worst from my perspective. Do not care.
Next is Life is Strange. And it clearly was not Switch footage, and they had a little text at the bottom of the screen: gameplay footage not final. And I'm like, no shit, it's not running on a Switch at all. So again, that was another game that was it comes up in every presentation. I'm like, you're actually making me not want to play this game at this point. Like, enough. I did play most of the first one and I liked it, but I'm just kind of getting burnt out on hearing about it.
It's like seeing the trailer for a movie
Yeah.
like a billion times before it comes out.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Next was they showed off Guardians, which is in Square Enix, which we haven't talked about yet. Might as well talk about it now. I am kind of excited for this Guardians game. I was really excited that they decided not to go the Avengers multiplayer route, and it's like a single player game, and kind of reminded me like somewhere in between an Avengers and Batman game in their approach to how they're doing the characters, and I like it a lot. The one thing I know nothing about the comic books for this. Clearly, the soundtrack and the humor is just coming from the movies. So, like, is that a thing in the comic books, or was that kind of created by the Marvel movies? Like, is that part of Star-Lord's character in the comics, or?
I don't know for sure. I don't like the music. I assume is just from the movies. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if he says
referencing songs or anything.
You know, it could be like you could write in references to songs or like.
Yeah, maybe. But I think they did have a sense of humor to them. Certainly, the more recent ones have. Whether
like was Drax this is that his personality in the comics?
I can't say. Don't know for sure.
It's like exactly the same as, because it's weird because they want to make they probably can't use the likeness of the performers, so yeah. They're like, okay, well, we'll make up our own versions of these characters, which I like. I like when Rocksteady does that too. But then it's like, but we're going to be the exact same tone and everything else is the movie. So they kind of want to be both things at the same time. But I still think it looks pretty good. Even though the gameplay demo where it was like throwing Rocket across that chasm, I was like, that's it? That's the big story moment? You throw Rocket across the thing? I guess they were showcasing that there's kind of branching decision making there, but
right, yeah.
The combat looked pretty good, but I'm glad it's a single player game.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Is it also developed by Crystal Dynamics? Oh no, Eidos Montreal. Okay, I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if they were going to go down the Avengers route and do the like brawler style, and then they saw what happened to Avengers and they're like, abort. Like single player it is, but I think
so, I checked it. A lot of assets and share assets for it.
Yeah, I checked it. The games were only a year apart, which seems like not a lot time to like force in a single player mode. So they probably were going single player the whole way with this, but yeah, it definitely was giving me Avengers vibes from like the layout of the areas. And overall, I am interested that they are doing a single player mode. But I don't really. I need to rewatch the movies because the first time I watched the movies, I didn't like them at all. So I need to go back. Maybe because I didn't like whatever the guy's name is the first time around. Who's that guy? The guy who's in Jurassic World.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Yeah, I wasn't a big Chris Pratt fan, so it's probably why I didn't like it at first. But I also didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy going into it, so maybe I had a different expectation of what it was. Anyways, I need to go back and watch the movies before I play this game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the writing was actually pretty solid, like from what I saw. Like, I agree they are just going for the same tone as the movies. I'm fine with that. And as long as the writing can carry it, then yeah, it looked like fun.
All right, so I'm going to do these next ones really quick because they were kind of quick in the showcase too. Worms Rumble, which I think launched the day of the presentation, which is more of a Smash Brothers take on Worms, like rather than a turn-based version.
Yeah, this was on PlayStation Plus a while back, right?
Oh, this is the one that was on PlayStation Plus?
I think so.
Okay, I thought it was a different one. But I honestly don't know. Astri Ascending, which we've seen before, which I think has a really cool art style. Kind of curious to see what it is.
Yeah, Major Dragon Crown
Yeah.
vibes.
And then Two Point Campus, which was coming up everywhere. This is another game
Oh,
that
yeah.
everything. I'm like, I haven't even heard of the 2 Point Hospital, to be perfectly honest.
Oh no, yeah, that game is all over the place too.
So I don't care about it. I don't think it looks that good, but again, not my genre. And then next was Monkey Ball Mania, which is
Banana Mania.
Banana Mania. Pardon me. This is weird. This is one of the, like, I used to love, or like my friends and I would play Monkey Ball all the time on GameCube in university. And we would do the mini games. The first Monkey Ball I played the shit out of. And when they said it's the 20th anniversary, it was like this weird thing where I'm like, I thought it was older than that because I haven't played it in so long. It's like, even though 20 years is a long time, but it's weird. I'm kind of excited for it though. That's probably where I gave Nintendo a little edge, even though I don't think it's exclusive to Nintendo. But I really like the first Monkey Ball and the fact that I can go back and do everything I did in the first Monkey Ball again. The next ones were never as good as the first one for me.
So just to clarify, this is like a remaster of like the old games?
Monkey Ball 1, Monkey Ball 2, I think a third and a fourth one, Banana Blitz maybe or something like that. I don't know. But I'm just excited to play the first one again, really.
Okay. So yeah, and now this is a bit of a theme, I think, for the Nintendo press conference, which is just that, I mean, Nintendo does it all the time anyway, but repackaging of old stuff. And I've heard some speculation that it could partially because of COVID having like a big impact on their development of games and stuff. So they've kind of had to quickly pull together some things, and that could be a reason why we saw a lot of that at E3.
Yeah, I was going to mention that at the beginning, but then we kind of got sidetracked. But based on this E3, COVID has played a much bigger part or had a bigger impact on the games industry than I think any of us anticipated, because, people were still developing at home, but I don't know if they're using that potentially as a reason not to show stuff, and you're okay not to show it until it's in a really good spot. But I think it's just that it has really impacted development for a lot of these games.
I can believe it for Nintendo. I've worked with people that have been part of, well, you guys were too. Well, Sean, you probably were with Nintendo with Twin Snakes, but Nintendo locks you down. I remember talking to Ryan when he was working on Luigi's Mansion at Next Level Games, and Next Level had 2 or 3 projects on the go, and Nintendo made them get another floor of the office and lock it off so that the other employees from the company couldn't go in there and could not know what they were working on, and the people had to sign specific Nintendo NDAs so that they couldn't even talk to the people at their company about what they were working on. So if you have a company that is that strict, to think that they're going to quickly adapt to COVID, where you have to now let your stuff out into the wild essentially and develop at a person's home, they're going to really struggle. And it's really hard. Even just if you're trying to test on the Nintendo Switch hardware, you're not supposed to bring that stuff to your house. I'm lucky because my house is my office, so I have all the kits here. I could test on the kits. But if you're going to a regular person's house now, all of a sudden you can't just give everyone out their kits. Especially Sony is very strict on that. So you now have to remote connect to a computer at the office that's connected to a dev kit, and then play through basically an emulator or through some sort of virtual desktop type thing. And obviously, if there's any sort of lag, you're not going to be able to test very well. So I really think it's probably very difficult, especially for Nintendo, to do this stuff. And I never tried to do it with the Nintendo, but I don't think their software for testing remotely is as robust as Microsoft and Sony. So I bet it's really, really challenging for them in Japan specifically.
Yeah, and I think they're still in the thick of it with COVID, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Kojima just at the Summer Game Fest thing say that they're in a state of emergency right now? I haven't really been following, but
yeah, I think they're having trouble.
Bad.
He made it sound like they're having trouble getting vaccines into people still. So it's not
Yeah,
ideal.
it definitely seems to be having an effect. And
I mean, it's affecting the whole world, but there was this like, oh, things are around the time when the games were almost done, they still managed to ship them relative, like close to on time. Like Last of Us Part 2 was like delayed a little bit, but it was like, okay, it's still happening. But for stuff that was in early development, and yeah, it seems like it's a much bigger deal than we might have thought based on what came out last summer after the start of the pandemic. Next is Mario Party Superstars, which I'm really not into Mario Party. I have to say, out of any Mario Party game, this one has me the most intrigued. Like that it's a collection of all the best stuff and a lot of mini games for a lot of variety. I doubt I'll buy it, but I guess there's a small chance.
I found it pretty funny that like two of their points were like all mini games support button controls. Like that was like a big point, obviously because you can't do waggle because
I
of
heard that.
Switch Lite.
I assume that the other ones, people were complaining about it, that you needed Joy-Cons or needed them separated. Like that's when I hear that, I don't know if that happened. That's what I interpret it as. That people.
Well, you also can't do it anymore because of the Switch Lite.
Sure,
right?
that too. Yeah.
So Nintendo has removed all of their requirements for any sort of like you cannot in their certification you cannot have waggle specific only things.
Can you attach more controllers to a Switch Lite and play it in like kickstand mode, I think it's called?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Because it might not matter. And then I'm curious, my next question would be, can you connect a Switch Lite to another Switch as a controller? Like if you went to your friend's house and use it as a weird questions that have
I don't know.
never come up before. I'm guessing the answer is no to both would be my prediction.
Yeah, I have a Switch Lite. I wonder. I'll have to report back.
Next, this made my top 5. They're hard at work on Metroid Prime 4, so don't worry. That After Effects presentation we saw 4 years ago, nothing has changed. Huge. When everyone was so excited for that. We're exactly.
And Metroid,
we know
Metroid 5 is
they
going to come out.
we know they restarted development on it, right? Basically from scratch. So
Hey, why not restart the Flash presentation then? Well, let's
Some
get
added
to
effects.
the biggest thing, which is one of the worst kept secrets in games, I think, at this point. A new 2D Metroid, which is pretty much ready to go, called Metroid Dread, coming out October 8th, 2021. I mean, I love the name. Metroid Dread is a solid name.
yeah.
And that's probably why Nintendo got number 1 for me, just based on that name. That is a great name for a Metroid game. And it seems like it's kind of influenced by Resident Evil 3 Nemesis or something like that. It seems like there's this creature that kind of follows you for these kind of... I think there was some stuff like that in... what was the last one? On 3DS?
Samus Returns?
Samus Returns. So I think they're leaning into that a bit more, but I thought it looked really good. The gameplay montage looked exciting, looked like an evolved Metroid, which is what I want from it. I don't want anything too drastic, so I am very excited for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I ask for it every year. I got it. I can't complain. I mean, I'm very happy. I'm very excited. I was saying to Huck before the show, the one little thing I would love to see them do like a true 2D Metroid like pixel art game in HD. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would like to see that. But, you know, whatever. This is another 2.5D style game, and I did think it looked pretty good. Not too much else to say. I mean, there was some kind of statement they had to put out because there's this character in it that was in Fusion and Other M. I don't know if you guys remember Metroid Other M. There's like this character that was like her commander or something, and he like was giving her orders, and people hated that. People were like, no, she should, you know, make her own decisions, and she's her own person, which, you know, I get. So, but apparently he's in this somehow, and people were like, she does not take orders from this guy. Like they had to make it clear.
I was not familiar with any of this stuff, to be perfectly honest. So
Yeah, I remember Metroid Fusion in particular being like very linear in the sense that it told you exactly where to go for everything all the time. And that was like, I think another complaint people had. So I think they want to make it clear like he's part of the story, but not really part of the gameplay necessarily.
Hawk, anything to add on the Dread?
You know what? I was not like super impressed. It looked kind of similar to other, 2D, 2.5D games I've seen before. It gave me a lot of Shadow Complex vibes, which is now like 10 years old. So I don't know what that says, but
Where I would disagree with you there is the animation. Like the slide animation looked so good. Like
yeah, it definitely has that Nintendo polish level above any other 2.5D game. But as far as like, I don't know, I guess I'm sure it's going to be good. I don't deny that. But nothing. It didn't like wow me. It's not anything new. I guess hiding in the shadows, that kind of mechanic they showed, is kind of interesting. But I mean, I'm pretty sure Shadow Complex and other games have done that, where you kind of slip into grates and stuff. So I'm not totally sold on it.
Yeah, if I was going to come at this with a slightly negative angle, even though like this is my changing hats thing, Samus Returns was not that good. Like I beat it because it's a Metroid game and they're all like pretty good, but I remember being disappointed with Samus Returns, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of change it. Like even Metroid Prime 2, I was not crazy about compared to the first one. And, sometimes when Metroid games introduce a new mechanic, the whole game can kind of crumble under that mechanic if it's not fun. And there was some stuff like that in Samus Returns. So if they try to do too much or change up the formula too much, it could be a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance.
It is. Just give me, just like Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank knows. Just give me another Ratchet and Clank game, super focused, and the stuff they add in Ratchet and Clank, it's so good. Oh my god, what a game. Ratchet and Clank 1E3. Just Dance, new one coming. Not a surprise. Next thing was a surprise for me. I think this game existed already, but kind of excited for a new cruising game. And
well, I think they said it was an arcade hit.
Yeah, like that was the surprise part to me. Like
there's still arcades with games.
But Cruisin' Blast looked like a super arcadey kind of crazy version of the Cruisin' series. And I remember loving Cruisin' USA, and I've kind of followed, like, that was the only one I really loved and was super excited for Ultra 64 and Cruisin' USA coming on that. And
on that same Nintendo 64 racing game vibe, it was giving me like the way they were showing how you like go over jumps and like smash through windows and like there's like weird dinosaurs and stuff. It was giving me very like Beetle Adventure racing vibes, where I feel like there's going to be like tons of hidden paths and stuff to go in. And I was like, I'm kind of into this right now, surprisingly. But yeah, it was a surprise for me as well.
It could be a turd, but I have to say I was pleasantly surprised.
It's an arcade hit, though. How could it be a turd? Come
on. Next was Dragon Ball Kakarot. I thought this looked kind of good, too. Like, I'm not into Dragon Ball, but for an open world game, I like the art style. I like the polish, the menus. I mean,
I thought this game had come out already.
I have no idea, but I thought it looked decent.
Yeah, there's just so many Dragon Ball games. Like, I don't even know. But so this isn't a fighting game. This is an action RPG.
I played the fighting game one, and it sucked.
So semi open world role playing game, released January 17th, 2020 on PS4, Xbox One,
so
Steam.
It's out already.
Yeah, looks like.
That's embarrassing. That's so embarrassing.
But I mean, that's what a lot of the announcements were for Nintendo.
All right, I'm downgrading Nintendo to a C plus. Because the more I think about it, Cruisin' is an arcade game that exists. It was new to me. That Dragon Ball game was new to me. It's not new. And you know what? I'll even be as bold to say and admit when I'm wrong. I will give Xbox best show of E3
Wow.
in hindsight.
Look at this guy.
Next, I don't know. I'm so burnt out. Like, so burnt out on Monster Hunter stuff. Like, this Stories 2, it didn't look bad, but I'm like, I do not give a shit about they must make so much money off Monster Hunter. It's crazy. And I don't give a hoop about it.
I want to give one of
Not
these
even
a
worth
shot
swearing
one of
about.
these days, but yeah, there's a lot of them. I don't know. Like these ones are specific to the Switch, right? The Stories ones,
I don't know.
I think.
Are they like old PSP games that are?
Give
I
him,
have no
give him
idea.
some quality bar, at least Vita. Come on.
Oh, there's one for the 3DS too. But
Did you miss the golf? They showed the golf some more.
Oh, okay. I did miss it, and I will be buying that game next week. I love Nintendo.
It comes out next week? Oh, I didn't realize it was so
25th of
soon.
June, I believe. Next Friday.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm interested in that game too.
Starting
I
my
don't know
week.
why. It seems so like basic, but
Next, Sean must be excited for the next one. WarioWare Get It Together, which is kind of like the meme version of games. I think it's a perfect time for a game like this. And I thought like the art was appropriately wacky and weird. And I don't love these games, but it looked like a good entry in the series.
yeah. This was kind of the one pleasant surprise that I had no idea about, and I am excited. I mean, they usually launch systems with the WarioWare games because they're easy to kind of put together a bunch of fun mini games. But they
In a
didn't
way-
do that for the Switch.
In a way, 1-2 Switch was kind of a WarioWare.
Yeah, that's true. That kind of was
Surprised they didn't brand it as Wario. I think they actually didn't do that because, never mind. I was gonna say because they wanted like the name Switch out there more or something like that, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they wanted to maybe let WarioWare sit a little bit. Although I think they did there was one that came out for the 3DS that was like a compilation of past ones or something. But this, yeah, I mean, I'm excited and it's co-op, so that's kind of a cool. That's the unique thing about it, and yeah, I'm down.
okay. Sorry, pardon me. Next is Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I don't know much about this series. I'm going to tie in the next one because I literally did not know anything about this series, and now it's coming up everywhere. And I obviously recognize the one, like the bear with the black and white or whatever, Danganronpa, that you've been talking about all the time too. And I
did
was-
you give it a try yet?
No,
That's good.
no.
That's good.
But I don't know. Anything to say about either of these games? I don't know enough about them to have any opinions.
I tried. So I think Shin Megami Tensei is related to Persona in some way. I believe Persona is a spin-off from these games. I don't know exactly how. I tried a Shin Megami Tensei game, probably number 2 or number 3, and it was really hard to get into. And so I can't see myself wanting to jump into 5. But the Danganronpa collection, I thought would be a good buy for people. I mean, perfect timing because we were just talking about it like last week and the week before or whatever. And
Yeah, I mean, I've had my eye on it since you mentioned it, so now that this is coming out, I might just pick this up.
yeah, the only downfall is on Switch, but what can you do? It'll probably be on other platforms as well. I would
Do we
think.
know that it's not, to be honest?
Yeah, I guess we don't.
Well, like what, like
Coming out on other consoles.
PlayStation and Xbox, or
Yeah,
I don't know,
or
about
even
that.
PC.
Like they are on Steam and stuff, right?
Yeah, you might be better to just wait for like a Steam sale. I'm pretty sure you can get the original Danganronpas. I mean, they're not doing really anything crazy. It's not like they're being remastered. They're just being packaged together. So I mean, the games are basically just narrative cartoon stories. So, or whatever, illustrations. It's like a moving comic book, basically. It's not, there's nothing action-y that goes on. It's kind of like an Ace Attorney game. So I don't know if you're really gaining anything by having this package together. There's that one other game, which is like a spin-off where they're like on a beach or something. I don't know. It was something weird about them being on a beach party or something. I don't know. It sounded like a mobile game that's packaged in. So I don't know. If people want to pick it up in one package, though, I would say go for it.
Yeah.
Next was, after we did our horror top 5 horror games, people mentioned Fatal Frame. I know very little about this as well, but thought this looked okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. I felt like watching this trailer as part of the Nintendo Direct, I couldn't help but think it's got to be very toned down. Like, you know, they don't want anything scary or gory, and it just, I don't know. I didn't get a good sense of what the game is from it.
Maiden of Black Water, I think it's called. Next, they showed the Mario Rabbids game, which was also part of the Ubi show. And I was kind of intrigued by the idea of it, like you being able to move the character and not being kind of grid based. Like you can move within a circle, like some area, and you're not locked to where you put your character. Which
wasn't it like that in the original?
No, you like
It's grid.
Yeah, you're doing like you move to a spot and you have so many spots you can move. It was not free open controls, so. It's a new kind of take on a turn-based strategy game, and I'm kind of curious to see what they do with that. Like, I think that's a neat idea. The over map or the overworld map in between the missions was kind of like that, and I love that overworld. And that might be gone, which disappointed me from what I could see. But I'm curious to see how they. It seems like they're taking turn-based strategy and bring it a little closer to action, which for someone like me is a good thing. Like, I'm kind of intrigued by that idea.
Yeah, I have a feeling like it won't be as big of a change as you think it might be. I mean, like Valkyria Chronicles did this, and they had like a movement bar. So basically you can move anywhere you want for a certain amount of time, essentially. And it really, I mean, the moving on a grid part, there was still only a certain amount of range you could go into. Now, when they showed it, did they have a movement bar, or was it like you could go anywhere in this field and then you pick your spot and then you go?
They had
I thought it was just like that.
It seemed like a circle that you're limited to.
Yeah.
And then when they shoot kind of the enemy's fire, there's some ability for you to avoid things, is how I interpreted it. But
Okay. I guess we'll need to see.
Yeah, I didn't. I feel like I didn't get a good sense of what the gameplay is in the new one.
Yeah, they made it seem like it was some new revolutionary thing, and by that gameplay trailer, I couldn't really tell what was so revolutionary about it. If getting rid of the grid is the only revolutionary thing, I don't think it's really revolutionary at all. But
the description does say an innovative combat system that combines freedom of movement and strategic turn-based decision-making. So,
I think it is revolutionary.
You better bump it back up to a B- then.
No,
definitely,
I thought it was revolutionary when I gave my original B- and bumped it down to a C.
It definitely made me want to break out the first game again, which I didn't really play that much, but
I went back to it and abandoned it again. And you know what? I was going to bring this up earlier on the show. Something that does not get mentioned enough, and you know, I can't remember what game Huck was talking about. There is something to be said about beating a game, like finishing a game to its completion. And how many times we've said, oh, we kind of left, we want to go back, blah, blah, blah. The fact that you didn't go back tells you something about that game. That's all there is to it. Think of what games you finish. Those are the best games. Think about what console they're on.
It's a kind of fair point, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fair, I'd say. Uh, next is Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which
Weren't we talking about this last week?
I think
Advance
Sean
Wars?
said he was predicting or thinking about a new Advance Wars game.
Well, no, we were talking about that Metal Slug one that they just
Oh.
announced.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it has come up a few times, and I've been wondering, like, what's going on with Advance Wars? Because, you know, things like Wargroove have come out and kind of tried to fill the niche, but it's like, why is Nintendo, like, why have they given up on this franchise? So I think this is cool. I mean, I wish it was a new game, but I'll probably pick this up, and maybe this is a good sign that they're going to do a new game eventually.
I guess
Well,
I'm
I
in the
bet-
minority here where I would prefer this. Like, take the first two, like bump them up, remastered. I kind of am preferring that now, where they don't try to do something new, especially for older games. Like, don't fuck with them too much.
I think this is a great way to actually like prove if there is a market for it. You take a game that people love, you put a little polish sheen on top of it, package a couple games together. It looks like a great deal, which it could be, unless they're going to charge $80 for it, which they will. And then you throw it out there and you see if people buy it. And if people buy it, then it gives you a reason to go make a new one. So I think it's smart of them to do it this way.
I have a lot of respect for Nintendo for not making every game like $10. I know we've talked about this before, but like they finally put some stuff on my wish list on sale, and even on sale, it's like $56 Canadian.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
I know.
yes, this is the cheapest it's ever going to get. I
Yeah,
might
it was
as
like
well buy
10%
it.
off.
And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? More companies should do this. And I think Sony's starting to go in that direction with their first party stuff. And I think it's good for game developers. And we talk about the value of games, and it's kind of gotten destroyed. And I think more developers need to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I think especially if you're a first party and you're putting in all the resources, like you put God of War, never drop the price of God of War. You know, never drop the price of Horizon. People will buy it.
It's a
You
good
don't
game.
you don't need to dilute the value. Like Uncharted, you should be paying full price for Uncharted every time it comes out. Like those games deserve the money, and they, you know, they're not a waste of money at $70-$80. They are worth that price. So why drop the price? I bet Sony gets a pretty good bump from dropping the price, but I bet it over the long run, once people see those prices are never coming down, you'd probably get equal sales.
That's where I'm at now with Nintendo. I'm like, even a small discount, I'm like, Tropical Freeze is still $80. I'm like debating buying Splatoon 2. What am I doing? Finally getting into some 35th anniversary Zelda stuff. A Game and Watch coming soon. Huge. And Age of Calamity expansion pass for... Is that the actual
Hyrule
title of
Warriors?
that game? Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? Is that yeah?
Yep.
Which I think looks kind of good. That's a game I wish was on sale, kind of. And finally, some footage from Breath of the Wild 2, which is coming in 2022, I think they said. Now, let's start getting into this idea. Everyone thought there was a new Pro Switch or something like that was going to be announced. Kind of getting the vibe with a lot of Zelda games in the past. Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild. There was one other one as well that kind of launches with a new console, and
3DS had the remake of Ocarina of Time, I think.
yeah, no, but when it launches, they announce it for the old system. It runs way better on the new one, and they launch simultaneously, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you can still technically play it on both, but they are really designed for a new system or to sell a new system. So I'm getting the vibe, you know, fall 2022, there will be a new Switch or version of the Switch that is really a different thing, probably something similar to what Series X is. And that game will be coming out when that launches.
Yeah, I've seen some talk about like it seemed like a sure thing, right? Everybody was saying, like, all these reports coming out, like the Switch Pro will be announced. Like, people were saying it's going to be announced before E3 even, and it didn't get announced. So it could be a few things. It could be the COVID thing, just hardware production is not easy right now. Maybe they knew they wouldn't have the quantities necessary, although that never seems to bother Nintendo that much. But the other thing is maybe the leak is the reason they didn't announce it. Maybe they're like, you think you know what we're going to do? Fuck you. We're not.
We are going to hunt down every single leaker. We're going to fire them, and then you'll get your news after that.
They are, like, as a company, they are pretty, like, hardcore about that kind of stuff. So it's possible. But I think Frank's probably right that they'll try and line it up with Breath of the Wild 2. I think it's a big disappointment that Breath of the Wild 2 isn't coming till next year. Like, I thought there was a chance it was coming for holiday 2021. And unfortunately not.
All right, so that's it for Nintendo. As I said, I will bump it down to a C+ and give the edge to Microsoft. What are you guys saying?
C for me.
Yeah, it's a C for me. C+. C+.
Yeah, buddy. All right, let's kind of burn through this Square Enix one.
Sure.
Guardians of the Galaxy we talked about was extended. Like we said, like that it's single player.
Yeah, the one...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the one thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy, like, I feel like I saw a lot of negativity about it, and I think they just spent a lot of time on it at the Square Enix event specifically, when the majority of their audience is not really interested in a game like that. So I think maybe they just put too much focus on that game for this particular event, but I liked a lot what I saw of it.
Okay. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which is the first 6, which said Steam. Possibly mobile. I don't remember.
Steam and mobile, I think, is what I read.
Which kind of sucks, because I would love to play 3 and get a platinum trophy or something like that. But we'll see. You never know. I don't think it's completely off the table, but I thought that could have been a bigger deal. Legend of Mana, I don't have any thoughts on, really. Do you guys?
No.
Okay. Avengers update, Black Panther DLC, which I think has been announced previously. I might play the Avengers now that I'm done Ratchet and Clank and try to do some single player stuff, because jumping into multiplayer was a little overwhelming. But I didn't dislike it. Some mobile games, a Nier mobile game, a Hitman mobile game, and a game we had seen before, Final Fantasy VII First Soldier, which looked pretty good for a mobile game. But let's be honest, we're not talking about mobile. Give me a fucking break. And let's talk. I want to get this other stuff out of the way first. Life is Strange. We had heard of True Colors before. It's kind of got an empath visibility mechanic where the other one had a rewind. I think that could be a cool thing. I don't know how it's going to play out. I should go back and finish the first one though, because I did like it for the most part. But the art style I think is improved, and they had maybe it was the Switch one, or no, it's just the remastered. It said it's being remastered, I think, as well. And I did not. They did old version, new version comparisons, and I'm like, what's changed? Very little has changed. A little more detail, but I would not have showed that off if that was. I would just announce it. That's it. It was not a big needle mover. So let's get into the two things that I made this one interesting to me. Actually, before I do that, let's say very briefly at the end, is it Forspoken and Final Fantasy 16? Really not mentioned at all, just in a little montage at the end, and those are the two games I would be the most excited for. And the other thing I thought might get announced was a new Tomb Raider game, but maybe that's the team that's doing Guardians, or part of that team.
Yeah, that
yeah, it might
would.
be.
I think that sounds right.
So that has me. That is part of the reason why I'm even a little more excited for that game. But Platinum Games had a new game called Babylon's Fall, and like the quote they were talking about was its unique art style. And I love Platinum Games mechanics and gameplay, but I thought it looked pretty generic.
Yeah, I didn't remember it the first time around, and then just before we started recording, I rewatched it again, and it's like there's I have nothing to say about it. Like, it's one of those trailers that flies by in the middle of one of these events, and I don't retain it at all. But it could come out and get great reviews, and maybe I would check it out. But
the reason why I was excited in our initial discussion about Square Enix is, a new Platinum Games game that I've never heard of before, and a new Team Ninja game, who worked on Nioh, among others, which I love. But this one looked like Devil May Cry meets Cloud from Final Fantasy. It was called Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. And I'm assuming that character is from the first Final Fantasy game, which I haven't played. But again, I love Team Ninja's combat, and I'm intrigued for this game. But both of these games, graphically, looked like early last gen. Like, they were not blowing me away by any means.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of kind of like open spaces with not much detail, not much vegetation.
It had like a weird kind of desaturated look that was doing. Yeah. That's like the opposite of Nioh. Nioh's colors are like, they pop. It's such a saturated color game. That's why I love their games typically. They look like a video game in the best way possible. And this one, like, I don't know, it kind of looked like poo-poo to me. But
it also had like a weird thing with the font. It was like the Paradise in particular, like I think it was the second A was like a capital letter right in the middle of the word. I don't know. Do you guys notice that? Like, it was a really strange font choice.
Is that what Final Fantasy was like, though? The first Final Fantasy? Is the A big in the title Final Fantasy?
I don't know.
Would have been a callback.
I don't think so.
I think the T was the big thing in that, right? Like for Final Fantasy NES. Let's see here. Box art.
Yeah, so if you look at like the key art for the title, that second A in Paradise is like higher. It's really weird. And I can't see a reason for it.
Definitely not what I was thinking.
It just seems such like a strange choice. And I don't know if that's like alluding to something like some character name or something like that. Like a dice, is that a person's name or something? ADISE? I don't know. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent, or if it's just a gigantic mistake that no one caught. I don't know. It's very strange.
I have no idea.
Huge find, Huck. Huge.
So this is the one that had
weird.
This is the one that had the demo, right? Or no?
I don't know.
There is a demo. It's coming out. I don't think it was out.
There was. I thought one of their games there was a demo, and like when people downloaded it, it didn't work. Like it was.
Oh yeah, I think
corrupt or
this was it.
something.
Yeah, I think this was it.
So that wasn't.
Well,
such
it is
a
a
great,
now available PS5 demo.
but I think they fixed it. It's still not a great first impression.
Yikes. All right. So Square Enix. C+.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give them a B-. Like, for the level of expectation of Square Enix, I'm giving them a B-.
It's a C for me. I mean, Guardians is the only thing that moved my needle.
Light C. Light.
All right. So let's get into any other, I guess Ubisoft. There was like a new Tom Clancy like quarantine game or something like that.
Extraction.
Extraction. Okay. And more Far Cry cinematic stuff and Rabbids, which we already talked about. I don't know.
Well, there was one big announcement at Ubisoft that we got to talk about. which is the Avatar game.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that. I was super excited for it, but it didn't show much.
Yeah, and I mean, all I've seen is people just saying, "I do not care about this."
I do care. I might go. This is the Ubisoft game I've cared the most about in the last 10 years since the last Avatar. But I mean, the Avatar, say what you want about James Cameron, but it's a good RPG world. Like, you could come up with your own avatar. It would be a cool way to insert yourself into. It's a pretty unique world. And I was thinking about Unreal Engine 5. I know they talked about being able to take movie assets and art assets and put them right in the engine and stuff like that. And I'm surprised no movie franchise is like, what if they just took the models for Avatar and brought them right into this game? And it's like, you could make super high quality, tie that production pipeline together. And that's huge. That could be amazing. You could get amazing licensed properties with stuff like that. And Avatar is perfect because the whole world is rendered practically. And I don't think that's going to happen. I didn't see any indications of that, but it at least planted the seed of that thought that this needs to happen more.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly am kind of looking forward to it. After going on the ride, the Avatar ride at Disney.
He's a believer.
And thinking of it as a open world, Ubisoft putting their open world kind of ideas into this universe, that could be a lot of fun, being able to fly over top and just if it visually looks as good as it could, then
what if they made Avatar real? You just plug yourself into your butt, you stick it, and it's I'm in.
That's the next step. VR Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost there. We're almost literally an Avatar.
Does the second movie have a release date yet?
I believe this holiday, or is it holiday 22?
I think it's 2022. I think I got delayed again.
I'm literally gonna die before I see the next Avatar. I don't think I got till the next 22.
I think James Cameron is more likely to die than you are.
No, I'm not so sure. I'm not gonna live to see Avatar 2.
December 16th, 2022.
Wow. So is that officially 12 years since the first one? Is that 12 years?
13.
14?
13.
13.
First one was 2009, December 2009.
Wow, that's insane.
I celebrate the anniversary.
Wow.
All right, so let's talk about other stuff we saw that we were excited about. I really have nothing else to add, except I will say I actually did check out 2 demos as part of that Xbox. Is there the branding for this is awful. I tried to find it in the store.
Yeah.
There's no
Summer
banner
Game
for it.
Showcase. Yeah, something like that.
It's impossible to find this stuff. I had to look up each.
It did show up for me. I had to. I don't know. I went into the store and then I left and then I went back in and then it showed up for me.
I only tried 2. I tried Tunic and Sable, and did you guys play either of these?
I downloaded both.
Played both.
Okay. Tunic initially absolutely blew me away. Polish level, everything about it for the first 10 minutes. I'm like, this game is fantastic. Then once I got a little more familiar with the combat, there's a big issue with the combat. I couldn't even get to the shield. I was dying because you cannot dodge until your swing of your sword is finished. It's the worst. If you just let me dodge out of my sword swing, the game might be a 10 out of 10. That small design flaw, blatant flaw, killed the game for me. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Fix this before I play it again, or I'm not playing this game. Maybe the shield helps, but I
Yeah,
love
I was just gonna
every
say.
goddamn thing about this game, but I'm like, I can't beat this because every other game lets me dodge.
Yeah, I didn't get to the shield. I just kind of, I don't know, played a bit and I was enjoying it, but I did notice that, and it did bug me a bit. But overall, I thought it reminded me of like Fez meets Zelda, like kind of a bit more.
The language
Yeah.
stuff of Fez too, right?
Yeah, like just a lot of mystery and atmosphere, but I still really liked it.
But if they tighten up that combat, or the shield and like other powers you get actually address those things, I'm 100% in on Tunic. I think it's amazing. Compared to like something like River Bond, which had me intrigued in the same way by its art style, but was not fun. Like the polish level of Tunic is through the roof. And Sable, which I did not play that much, but I mean, I love the art style and I love the menus, polish, everything about it. I love the circle around you when you need to find out where to go. And it's like that local map around your character with indicators. But the quest system's kind of broken. It was like, it was telling me to go and do things I'd already done. And I couldn't really find out what I should be doing. So I'm like, they have to fix this. So I'm not going to waste my time in this game. But if they just fix quality of life stuff like that, this game's amazing. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I was like blown away. Like you've seen the trailers and stuff, but just being able to walk around in this world, and that it is a bit of an open world exploration type thing. Like it reminded me of Rime, those kind of games a little bit.
Rime's gameplay sucked, from what I remember. Like,
Yeah, like this is better than Rime for sure. But
the bike, the motorcycle, whatever you want to call that thing, I thought the controls on that were fantastic. Like you could strafe on it, and I loved it.
yeah, there was like a little bit of camera control stuff that just like occasionally it would end up in a weird angle for me. But other than that, I was loving it, and I thought it lived up to the hype that we've seen so far.
Just to jump in on Sable, I jumped in, I watched the Tribeca game conference thing, and they showed Sable there. And there was one scene where the character was on the bike and the camera kind of pans behind and it clips through the model and you get to see through the model for like, I don't know, like a second or two. And I'm like, could you not have cut this a little earlier? Like, why would you show that? I mean, maybe they didn't even notice, but I don't know. I noticed it right away, and it was such a strange choice to show as like a polished, trailer type thing. Anyways, it's just something I noticed, and it kind of bugged me that they had this like beautiful looking trailer and then they had the camera clip through the character, which usually you don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean it's coming out September 23rd, so we got
Pretty
a bit of
close.
time, but not too much. So yeah, hopefully they can polish those little things.
Yeah, they're in the shit right now trying to finish it up.
And I don't know if we mentioned, it's like heavily influenced by Breath of the Wild. Like there's a stamina and climbing thing that's
Yeah.
ripped off right from that game.
In the Tribeca game thing, they also had like a little commentary thing going on, and they said that there's absolutely no combat, like there's no threat to you as a player. So it's really just an exploration game.
Needle just went down a little bit. But the one thing I wasn't crazy about, I liked it conceptually, but there's like the way the dialogue works, there's always this like backstory as to, it's like written more like a novel in between the dialogue and stuff like that, which I thought is a cool idea. I don't know if I liked it that much in practice. Kind of like the narrator in Biomutant.
Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling. Well, since we're talking demos, I can just say I tried out 2 other demos. I'll just mention real quick. You mentioned River Bond. So I played the new game from, is it Coco Cucumber? Is that the same company? Echo Generation, which I was liking. I mean, it's the same kind of art style as voxel kind of thing. But I would say it reminded me a bit of like Costume Quest. So it's sort of like...
Quest.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an RPG with battles, with timing-based stuff within the battles. but the story is like you're a kid and I can't remember exactly what you're trying to do, but you're just wandering around a neighborhood, and it kind of had sort of I don't know if it's set in the 80s, but it definitely had like a 80s or 90s nostalgia kind of vibe going on. But I like that. And I also tried Death Trash, I think it's called. Yeah, Death Trash. I don't know if you guys saw this one at all.
I saw this one. I thought this is right up your alley.
Yeah,
This one.
so it's like I guess it's an action RPG, pixel art style, but it's like isometric. I think
This looks amazing.
Yeah,
think it's
gritty,
based
dystopian.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like inspired by like Shadowrun, maybe, like the SNES one.
This game was fucking sweet, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really enjoying it, and it's kind of funny too. Like it's so kind of over the top with how kind of gritty and dark it is. Like one of the first puzzles is there's a machine you have to fix by vomiting and using your vomit to lubricate the machine. So yeah, I was definitely enjoying that one too.
This was on Xbox, this game?
Yeah.
Death Trash.
So a bunch of these were shown in the PC gaming show. Did you guys watch any of that?
A bit.
I don't think I watched that one, no.
So this kind of ties in. I was going to bring this up. There's another game very similar to Death Trash, but maybe a slightly different style called Mecha Jammer. Also pixely art, but more of that 3D Octopath Traveler style dystopian RPG. Really gave me like old Syndicate vibes. It said it was like an open world. So it seems like this like dystopian pixel not RPG.
They're everywhere.
It's like, really coming back. Or really
Looks cool
coming
too, yeah.
through now. And then another one that was kind of similar, which we talked about a bit pre-show, is a game called Norco, which is also dystopian, but this is a point-and-click adventure game set in Indiana, I guess. The guy grew up in Norco, Indiana, and this game is inspired by his life there. And I thought it looked really cool. It looked like it was doing some different things with point-and-click adventure. The art style was really neat.
Snatcher influenced.
A little bit of Snatcher influence, definitely. Yeah, I thought it looked really cool. So actually, it's so funny. I have quite a big list of other games we haven't touched on yet from the other conferences. So I don't know if you guys want to jump in on other stuff.
When every game you guys have mentioned, I didn't know about, and I look it up, and it looked fucking amazing. So if you've got other games that look amazing,
let's run through them.
I'm curious to hear them.
Norco, I also loved. Like it looked amazing to me.
Yeah, definitely. You want to fire off a couple, Dwight?
It is worth mentioning, though, again, to repeat this point, like indie games are so much more interesting. Like now that they've nailed the art style, like if it's not a Sony game for the most part, like I really don't have high hopes for it. And like every indie game you've mentioned has me way more excited than most of the stuff I saw in the presentations.
Well, I got to tell you that my top 5 is almost exclusively stuff that we did not talk about in the first half. It's all stuff that I'm going to talk about here.
Well, then, rather than bringing them up, maybe just bring them up in the top 5 and I'll look them up.
Well, there's more than 5. Wait, so...
well, yeah, okay. I don't know. Like, let's just go through them and then we can do our top 5s at the end, I guess.
Okay. So another one I thought Dwight would be into, sci-fi, pixel art, cool looking game, Signalis. Did you see this one, Dwight?
I did. The trailer for this was really strange, though. This was the
it
one that was
really
introduced
strange.
by Guillermo del Toro, I think.
I don't remember. It was also at this Tribeca Game Festival thing.
Yeah, I thought it was like one of the first things they showed at Tribeca.
It was. Yeah.
I feel like I watched all the wrong stuff. Everything you're saying looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was intrigued, but I was like, I don't totally. Oh, even looking at the images, I'm like, did I see this in the trailer? Like it
totally
just seemed
weird.
like it was edited together in a very almost psychedelic way, like very strange.
Oh, it was. It was weird. It's really weird. But I thought it was gonna be. It's almost like a sci-fi horror game, almost like something out of like Aliens meets Robots type thing going on. It was really weird, and it looked like it shifts the perspective a bunch. Like sometimes it's like side on, sometimes it's more like isometric. Like it's really, really weird. But definitely has potential. Let's see here. In that Tribeca thing, they showed Kenna Bridge of Spirits still looking amazing.
Oh, did they show more gameplay in that?
I don't know if they showed more gameplay, but they showed similar stuff to what they've shown already. I told you this Tribeca thing had really some of the best games.
It did. Now I have to say though, I saw like a news article about Kenna, and it was like, it's, you know, third person action adventure meets Pikmin, and then my needle dropped. I remember when Brutal Legend tried to do that, where they had like this kind of command strategy game in the middle of it, and I don't know. I hope it works. I have low expectations.
Just a total random aside, but like talking of Pikmin, there is a game that's on Game Pass right now that is almost a complete Pikmin ripoff. I don't know if you guys have seen it, The Wild at Heart.
Nope.
Like it is.
No.
I played a little bit of it, and I'm like, how did they get away with this? Like it's literally lifted, and it also has like a vacuum cleaner mechanic stolen from Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, I remember seeing this game came up in the indie showcase we talked about a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was liking what I saw, but I was just surprised how much it seemed to be inspired by those games.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem. I see what you're saying, 100%, but what other game that we talked about? And we're like, how is this even allowed? I can't. Anyway, continue.
So I'm just going to real quick mention the Devolver press conference, which I watched all of, and you know they usually have this really like meta storyline thing going on throughout it.
I can't believe you watched the whole thing. It
Well,
was like
I started
mostly acting.
Yeah, I started tuning out about halfway through because I was like, they're not really showing much here. I did kind of like they had this whole like what did they call it, Max Pass Plus thing that they kept talking about, like a subscription service, and they were kind of making fun of that whole thing. That I didn't mind. But the one game that they showed that was new to me that I thought was kind of cool was Demon Throttle.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring this one up. This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
right up
it's-
your alley.
Well, it's kind of like a bullet hell kind of thing, it seemed like. So I don't know. It might not be totally up my alley. It might be too hard. But I thought
That's
it
true.
looked cool. Like the style of it and the trailer they showed looked pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's like NES graphics, but
Yeah.
it definitely has like smooth gameplay.
Looks like it's a Pocky and Rocky game,
Don't know what that
which
is.
I think they announced Pocky and Rocky Remastered.
Yeah, I don't know what that game is either.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Pocky and Rocky. That was one where it's like a co-op. It's totally Pocky and Rocky. It's like a girl and like a raccoon or maybe a tum. What's the suit in Mario Brothers 3?
Tanuki?
Tanuki, Red Panda kind of thing? Yeah. You guys never heard of Pocky and Rocky?
No, never.
I don't think so.
No, look it up. I think it was Game of the Month in Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Ooh.
There's a sequel too.
Oh boy.
You should look it up. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
And it's definitely this game is trying to do that. And the sequel for Pocky and Rocky is coming out this year on the Switch.
Cool. The other game I thought you might be interested in, Dwight, that was in Devolver, was a game called Inscription. Do you remember this one? It was like, it was almost like The Room, like an escape room meets deck builder game, and it was by the same guy that made Pony Island. So it's like it's gonna be really funky, and it had this weird, almost like board game aspect to it as well. It was just really strange, and there was like, it looked like you go into this room and you have to play like a demon or something at a board game, and then try to get out of the room when he's not looking or something. It's really
and it's like
weird.
first person view of sitting at the table and playing the game or something, right?
Yeah, it's really kind of weird. So it kind of got the needle
This
moving
looks
on that one.
fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. So You definitely watched the wrong shit, Frank.
I certainly did.
E3 might not have been a debacle.
This is a revolution, man. This is literally, indies are taking over. It's not even close.
But the problem
Oh,
with the indie stuff is it was spread across so many different press conferences. Like, that was a real issue.
Yeah. So, okay. I actually got a bunch more here. I'll try to rip through them quickly so we don't go forever. So most of these are from, well, I'll do the last from the Tribeca. A game called The Big Con, which is actually from a studio in Toronto, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a cool idea. It's like a set in the 90s, I believe, and it has kind of like
Toe Jam and Earl vibe?
Toe Jam and Earl, some sort of like Saturday morning cartoonish, like from that era kind of art style. And I believe if I remember correctly, the premise is that you need to like steal and manipulate people to get enough money to help your mom pay off some of her bills or something like that. And you don't have a cell phone or anything, so you're trying to kind of work your way through this world doing like odd jobs and I think you pickpocket people. Like I think you're basically like a pickpocket.
Yeah.
It sounded kind of interesting. I don't know. I was kind of intrigued. The art style didn't like totally sell me on the game, but the gameplay I think is going to be cool to see how they do it. So, anyways, another one.
Hustle Through the 90s and The Big Con, an adventure game where you're an awkward teen hustling to save her family video store from gangsters.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's just got a really kind of neat premise. Sounds fun. So that
there is a demo for that one up on Steam right now.
Oh yeah. Oh cool. I'll have to check that out. I tried to find the demos for Steam, so I found the Sable demo, and everything else is just buried. Like I couldn't find anything. There was no thing I could click on that said like E3 demos. It just
did. I mean, they didn't all come out until I think Wednesday. So I don't know if you maybe.
Oh, maybe I was looking. But
earlier. If you just look for like Steam Next Fest, you can find a pretty good.
Oh, okay.
List of them.
Maybe that hadn't come out yet when I was looking before.
I can't stop scrubbing this Inscription game trailer. It's
weird. Yeah, it's really cool looking. So then all of these ones are from the PC gaming show, which I'm sure none of you guys watched.
I did watch some of this, but Inscription needs to be a VR game. Last thing I'll say.
Yeah, that would be cool. So there was a game. The first game they showed, I think, was called Naraka Blade Point, and this kind of looked like a samurai game. Like it looked like Ghost of Tsushima, obviously not as good, but also with magic. And then it was a battle royale. So it's just like samurais, magic, battle royale. Looked interesting. That's all I can say about it.
I feel like I've heard of this game before.
Have you? Okay.
I
think I saw it somewhere else, maybe.
Okay. So then there was another game called Dodgeball Academia. If you guys heard of this one, it reminded me of like sort of like a Mario Tennis game, but dodgeball. And then you have like story aspects as well. And it has this sort of like pixel arty style. I don't know. It just the way what they showed just made me intrigued to try it. And it made me feel like maybe it was like a sports game with kind of like a kooky story built in. Anyways, I thought that was something to check out. And then there was a game called Ramen.
Oh yeah,
but spelled
saw this one.
Rawmen. And it's basically like a food fight multiplayer game where you're just like chucking food at each other. Anyways, I thought the name alone deserved some time on the show because I thought it was pretty clever. I don't know why they went with that, but obviously it's a play on ramen, but I don't know why exactly they went with it. Anyways, I thought it looked kind of fun. Yeah. And then I'm big into these like detective games, so I actually thought Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song, it was mostly CG, but it did seem like it was some sort of like detective-y game set in the vampire universe. I believe you're trying to figure out what happened to your kid or something like that. And you're trying to solve puzzle. I don't know. It wasn't totally clear what you do, but it did seem like you were kind of investigating an area and trying to figure out what to do. So I was interested in that. Let's see what else. I can cut this. There was a game called Songs of Conquest, which I don't know if you guys ever played the Heroes of Might and Magic games back in the day. It was kind of like a turn-based strategy game, not a kind of like a city builder, but with combat as well. And it looked basically like exactly these games were made by Ubisoft, or Ubisoft bought the license and they started making them. But this Songs of Conquest looks identical to those old games, and I used to play those games so much. So I was kind of interested to see if they do bring anything new. It didn't look like there was anything new. It looked basically just like a Heroes of Might and Magic game with a new coat of paint and a new name. But I'm gonna follow this one just to see if there's any kind of new things they do.
The art style's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, there was an interesting game called Lemons Gate. Lemins Gate. So it's a first person. What's that?
Lemniscate.
Lemniscate. Okay. So it had a weird hook. Like, I watched the gameplay trailer and it didn't look that good. It looked okay.
Yes, it says.
Yeah. So then the guy was talking about it. And so there's like a 25-second game loop. So you start off, it's a first person shooter, but it says turn-based, but that's not totally true from what I said. So basically you get 25 seconds to do a move. And then the other person gets 25 seconds. And then you get to go again, but your original two moves stay there. So then all the moves kind of build on top of each other. So it sort of reminded me of that Capybara game, Super Time Force, where you have like a bunch of like time, like things that keep playing on top of each other and compounding the gameplay. So I don't really know how it was going to play out, but I thought the premise was kind of unique and could lead to some interesting, gameplay things in there. I'm not really sure exactly what the game's going to be, if it's just going to be multiplayer, these like essentially like multiplayer turn-based battles, or if there's actually going to be something more to it. But anyways, I thought the premise was kind of neat and could be interesting. And then the last thing I'll bring up, which another of these Octopath Traveler ripoff games, like this game is just, every game is trying to copy Octopath Traveler art style, but this game is called Sacrifire, and it basically looks like an indie version of Octopath Traveler, not nearly as polished, but similar art style. Looked pretty cool, but it only looks like so it's a RPG as well, but it looked only like you have one character in your party, and I'm not totally sold on one character party RPGs. So that would be the only downfall of it, but it piqued my interest enough with that art style and the battles. So that is, I think that's all from E3.
It looks like that Sacrifier game is on Kickstarter, from what I can see, too.
Oh, is it?
I don't know where it's at.
That's a little concerning then.
It does look neat. It's got kind of like a mode 7 element too.
Yeah. So there's a few other games shown at that PC gaming show that were weird. So I don't really need to go into them, but there's some more stuff for people to check out if you didn't see them that were interesting. I think that's enough.
I just real quick, I watched the Upload VR showcase, and I'll just mention a couple quick ones. Frank, you might be interested in this one. I don't know if it's been announced anywhere else before, but there's a game called Unplugged, and it is basically like Guitar Hero, I guess, in VR, but you're air guitaring, and it can actually like read your hand movements to where you're playing and stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is actually...
Unplugged is a totally different game. It's like a indie beat 'em up game.
Did I get the name wrong? I don't know. Just search Unplugged VR.
Okay.
Yeah, I searched Unplugged Upload VR, and it popped up.
No, it's called Unplugged. Yeah, it's okay.
So, yeah, again, like it's one of those things where I'm like, is this going to work? Like, I don't know for sure, but if it does, I think it's got potential. I know, didn't they do Did they do Guitar Hero or Rock Band in VR already?
Rock Band was in VR on PC. It was like, as far as I know, you're like, it's a stage performance. Like if you were on stage actually playing, what that would be like.
Yeah. So I guess this brings that together with like the actual motion controls of VR as opposed to using like an instrument or something.
Except you're not on stage. It's like, it's just a way of like using the VR motion controllers as like the frets and stuff like that. Like it's.
But I think it does simulate being on stage at some point. And
all
you
the
know,
footage I'm seeing is like unless this is just what I'm seeing, it's like you're in a practice space jamming with an amp and stuff like that.
yeah, I think there's more to it. But the trailer that I saw used an Offspring song, so I was like, friends, better watch this trailer. So there's actually some cool exclusive PSVR games coming out in the near future. They were kind of announced before E3, but they showed a new trailer for Fracked, which is an action game kind of with a little bit of a spy theme. And it looks really good. My main question is like, is it going to make me hurl basically? Like, I don't know if they have an option. Like, it seems like it's kind of free roam. But I'm not.
Blood and Truth made me hurl a little bit.
As soon as you
And stuff like that.
as soon as you said fracked, made me want it to be like some sort of Battlestar Galactica spin-off game.
Yeah. And then they announced a Nerf game in VR. They didn't like the trailer didn't show anything, but I was like, that could be pretty fun. And there's an MMO. I think it's like a free-to-play MMO called A Township Tale, kind of cartoony style. Didn't blow me away, but just the thought of like an MMO in VR could be cool. And I think there's like a new Puzzle Bobble game. I don't know if that's exclusive to PSVR, but
A Township Tale is Oculus, it looks like. Coming to Quest.
yeah, sorry. I kind of got my wires crossed there, but the Puzzle Bobble I think was a PSVR one. Although it
Puzzle
looks like-
Bobble's on Quest as well, I think. That's the Bubble Bobble
Okay.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's already on Quest. Or
Yeah.
coming soon.
So that looked cool.
Fucking cool.
But that was about it. I mean, they had like I Expect You to Die 2, which we've kind of already talked about, but looking forward to that. And I think
there was rumors that PSVR is going to be holiday 2022.
yeah, I saw that as well.
That seems like a long time.
Yeah, but again, hardware right now, like who knows? Like they're still worried about getting supply for PS5 this year, so adding more hardware maybe isn't the best idea right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and it's the new Sam Barlow game, Immortality, was announced, but it was just an announced trailer, not really too much to. Something to do with like 3 actors in Hollywood. Seems like a setup for like a classic film noir kind of thing, but I don't know what the gameplay is at all.
Cool.
So that's E3.
We did it. C+. E3 C+.
Yeah.
All right, we doing our top 5?
Sure, why not? We're already gone this long.
Just real quick, let's just run them down.
My number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. And no, my top 5 would have probably changed if I saw all the indie stuff you guys mentioned. So, number 4, Sable. Number 3, Elden Ring. Even though I don't think it looks amazing, it looks a little bit like Sekiro, which I love. Number 2, Metroid Dread. And number 1, Replaced.
Okay. Huck?
5, The Big Con. Number 4, that Inscription game we were talking about. Number 3, Norco. Number 2, A Plague Tale Requiem. And number 1, Replaced.
I've got number 5, Norco. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 3, WarioWare. Number 2, Replaced. Number 1, Metroid Dread. I almost had Mario and Rabbids in there, but Got to play the first one first, I guess.
Good leave off. All right. Well, I guess there's no point in getting into what we played today. We're running too long. It's actually shorter than I thought it would be, to be perfectly honest.
We'll probably need all the help we can get for next week. So
These episodes used to be like, although EA has a press conference next week.
oh, do they?
Or is
Oh,
that
is
July?
it next week?
Oh, sorry. When,
I know, yeah, there are some ones coming up. I think Annapurna has one next month as well. But, and who knows, maybe Sony will drop something big. Maybe they just held off till it was all over.
they did drop something big. It was a game. And it's PS4. It's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and it is my game of the year, and it is amazing, and I will be telling you about it.
Well, I'll try to finish it. I'm like maybe 4 hours in right now, so we'll
Oh,
see.
it's July 22nd, I think, for the EA thing. Yeah, July
Cool.
22nd. So yeah, we'll talk this shit. Are you gonna be done, Ratchet and Clank? It's like 10 hours. It's amazing. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'll try. I think it's possible.
Like the
Definitely
most
possible.
condensed, amazing, focused experience you could ever ask for on a home console.
Okay.
It's almost perfect. Almost perfect. All right, we'll get to that next week. Thanks for listening. Let us know what you thought the best E3 stuff was, and if we missed stuff, maybe there's even more amazing indie games that I didn't even see or none of us saw.
It's definitely possible.
Let us know. These guys don't even know about Pocky and Rocky coming. So youtube.com/GameJunk. For Twitter, Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis, and Sean is Film Junk.
Don't
Until
forget
next time.
Discord in the link, whatever you call it, description.
The description video on YouTube. Fuck Discord. All right. Anyway, we'll see you soon. Later.